Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now it's been a few days since I posted a video, but if you did miss my last video, I did a trailer reaction to the first teaser for Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver, that is on my channel now. It has been #1 worldwide on Netflix since it debuted. So let's keep pushing that and, keep streaming it, keep watching it, tell people about it, and make sure to give it 2 thumbs up after you watch it. And you may notice that the teaser reaction I did was before it actually dropped on their official YouTube page, and there's a quick extra clip missing at the end of the reaction that I did because it wasn't included in that one yet. At the end of Part 1 on Netflix, you could watch the teaser for Part 2, and then a couple days later they put it on their YouTube channel. So in that one there's an extra clip at the end of it where there's an interaction between Admiral Noble and Cora, and so if you're wondering why my reaction doesn't have that, it's because it wasn't included on the one that was released at the end of Part 1. But it is on the one on their official YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, thank you for checking it out. And if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe before you leave today. I want to go over some things that were mentioned in an article from The Atlantic, a interview with Zack. It's a very long article, so I'm not going to read it, but I want to go over some of the highlights and, things that he said that I found interesting. But first, I'm going to start actually with a quote from Christopher Nolan. And he says, "There's no superhero science fiction film coming out these days where I don't see some influence of Zack. When you watch a Zack Snyder film, you see and feel his love for the potential of cinema, the potential of it to be fantastical, to be heightened in its reality, but to move you and to excite you." So I appreciated that. And they included that in this article, so I wanted to share that. And really the focus of this article is kind of talking about how, for some reason, Zack Snyder is a director that people love to hate and has become so controversial, and, people kind of either love him or hate him. And I like that Zack says here, everyone's like, "You're a polarizing figure, and, love him or hate him." And I'm like, love him or hate him? What did I do? How did I get to hate him? And I'm like, I totally agree with that. Why? I don't know. If you don't like someone's stuff that they make, then don't watch it. I totally get where he's coming from with that. The article is kind of discussing how some people have, said that there might be superhero fatigue setting in because, a lot of the recent Marvel films and, DC this year for sure, films are not performing the way that they used to in theaters. So some people argue there's superhero fatigue, but Zack says, "I have the same fatigue. Comic book adaptations," he said, "are a cul-de-sac now. No longer interested in or capable of telling self-contained stories. No one thinks they're going to a one-off superhero movie." So of course it's interesting that he used cul-de-sac because that's how his movies were referred to by Ann Sarnoff and people, former leadership at Warner Brothers when he finally got to release Zack Snyder's Justice League. Over the past couple of years, it's been like, the point is just to release another one, just release another one, just release another one. These studios have kind of been prioritizing quantity over quality, and I think that's where superhero fatigue, people might think there's some kind of, it's not necessarily fatigue for the genre, but it's just the way the genre is being represented. And Rob Liefeld, actually, he's commented a lot on this, the Snyderverse, the Snyder Cut, Zack's movies, comic book movies in general. I appreciate a lot of things that he has to say because he commented on that as well and said, I don't think it's superhero fatigue, it's low quality fatigue that people are kind of getting sick of, the same old thing coming out, the same old thing with different characters, or, just there's not as much thought being put into it, and it's kind of just do whatever to get people in seats, and it's, people forget about it the next day. And I agree with that. There is a fatigue, but I don't necessarily think it's the genre. It's just the way it's being represented. Some interesting things being said here about Rebel Moon and working with Netflix and things like that. It's Zack's own original IP. It says here, "That might help free the project from comic book fatigue, though it also presents new challenges. Rebel Moon has no built-in fan base the way Watchmen and Man of Steel did." Netflix's vice president of original studio film quoted, We're a new studio, so we don't have 100 years of library titles. And if we're going to build our own, we really have to be willing to lean into some risk." So, of course, Zack has a fan base, but I think what they're talking about when they say no built-in fan base is okay, Watchmen, Man of Steel, BV, all of these DC properties, they come from a franchise where you already have a large fan base that are going to watch them because it's DC or because it's, it's part of a large franchise that's been around for decades. Rebel Moon doesn't have that. So, you know, like he said, you have to lean into some risk if you want to build your own library, your own catalog of original IPs. There's some risk that comes with that because you're presenting something new and original. Yes, it has inspirations from all these, it takes inspiration from all these different projects and other franchises, and kind of every movie has inspiration from something, but there is still some risk that it's an original universe. They're willing to do that. Now, perhaps one of the most interesting things that he said in this article, of course, people are going to continue to ask or bring up the subject of him ever going back to work with James Gunn at DC, or, you know, would he ever be interested in that? Which over the past several weeks or so, I've had a couple of different videos where he's talked about that during the press tour for Rebel Moon. At first, he said that, you know, that chapter of his life was closed and that really the only way he would ever go back to work at DC is if he could make a true, accurate adaptation, live-action adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller graphic novel. But that'd really be it. And it would kind of just be its own thing. Then, not too long after that, I played a clip of him during another interview where he was asked about, of course, the whole Netflix having the rights to his DC universe, his Snyderverse, DC universe. He said if they had it, then he would absolutely, without a doubt, be interested in doing that. But it was clearly, he made a distinction there between Netflix having the rights to, if they licensed it in some way, which the head of, you know, film also said that they would love to license it at some point, and going back to work at DC. Very clear distinction there, different response to both of those things, right? And here he's saying, I'm not knocking on James Gunn's door going like, bro, shoot me one of those sweet movies. The Holy Grail is some original IP that you create that has some resonance and is cool. So, again, he's reiterating that he would not be interested, most likely, in going back to actually work at DC. But he made it very clear in that other clip during the interview that if he had his own characters that he originally started with in some way at Netflix, then yes, he'd be absolutely interested in doing it that way. I agree with that distinction that he has made there. Like, he finally found a place where they treat him with respect. They let him have creative freedom. Like they said, taking the risk to build out this original IP and expand on it extensively and introduce something new, are just really interested in what he wants to do. Like, why would he give that up to go back and, you know what I mean? But if in some way they were able to get his little corner of DC that he was able to give us, then that would obviously be a different story. It says here, Snyder wondered whether the movie industry's obsession with strip mining old source material might be approaching an end. He said, I mean, like, how much IP is there? Quickly, though, he thought of another enduring intellectual property he might like to tackle one day, and his eyes lit up when he said James Bond. He said it'd be cool to see, like, 20-year-old James Bond, the humble roots that he comes from, whatever trauma of youth that makes you be able to be James Bond, there has to be something there. So I guess maybe that's, you know, one franchise that he think would be interesting to kind of explore, but not continue with just another James Bond movie. Like he says, go back to a younger James Bond and kind of explore his origin or, you know, his childhood. And we know Zack likes to do that with characters, obviously. So I just wanted to share some of those statements and points from this article. If you want to read the entire article, I did retweet it from The Atlantic, or you could probably just hop over to their website and find it. Yeah, but thank you guys for watching today. Leave any of your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. You can also check out the short section on my channel if you're interested, and I appreciate all the support. Don't forget to watch Rebel Moon, leave it 2 thumbs up. Check out the teaser for it if you haven't seen for part 2 yet. It comes out April 19th. Still no official word yet on when the director's cuts come out. At least for part 1, we still don't know either. So hopefully we'll be finding that out very soon. I do hope it comes out before part 2. But thank you guys for all of the support. See you guys next time.